Hi, everybody. I have with me today the one and only Jennifer Turner. Um, she is a wonderful individual and a former client of mine. And I wanted to give her an opportunity to share her story. And I love her story because I think that a lot of people can relate to where she's at coming out of the diet mentality, the diet culture that you have to it's all or nothing approach. And I wanted to give her an opportunity to share her story and introduce herself. And Jen, if you could tell everybody sort of where you were, in your health and your mindset before we started, why you decided to work with me, and just we'll just chit chat back and forth and see where this conversation takes us.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you. My name's Jennifer Turner, like Stephanie said, and I am a tax preparer and during the day. And when I first found Stephanie, I was overworked, miserable, overweight, tired, exhausted. Not tired, exhausted. And I came from a diet mentality world where I tried all the things. I I went to Weight Watchers. I went to, I've done the Jenny Craig meals. I went to medical weight loss. I tried every magic pill out there. I was always searching for that magic pill. And I never quite grasped the fact that, yes, I could put pounds on overnight, but I couldn't take them off overnight. And I only gave these diets, you know, I would try so many that my poor body just didn't know what was coming or going. And so when I met Stephanie, she gave me explanations to why my body wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. And I was immediately drawn to her heart and her extreme breadth of knowledge when it came to what it took to become the boss of my own health, to actually take over my health. And I believe that I, coming into this program, I was going to finally take control of my health.
Did that look like what you
And
thought it was going to look like?
nope, not even close. Not even close. In fact, the first call, we didn't even really talk. We talked about the fact that I wanted to lose weight, but we're like, okay, cool. And all of a sudden, we start talking about my blood sugar and my sleep habits and things like that. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I just want to lose weight. Tell me what to eat. Tell me what to, go do. And that's not what this was about. And it's the most brilliant thing. Looking back, I look at it and I think I might have actually thought it was a little crazy. Like, why is she just telling me to go to bed at the same time every night? What are you, my mom? No, just kidding. But it was exactly the formula that I needed to start climbing the ladder to better health. And so yeah, it didn't look like I thought it was. It doesn't look like what we know as a diet culture now is that eat this, do this equals this. We never look at our mindset. We never look at our self-care and we never look at our self-compassion. And that's really um, the underlying theme within your program that I've learned to love myself first. And when I started to love, I've this was the one thing that stuck with me all the time is that if for my body to change, I have to love my body where it is now. And I wasn't doing that. And so when I started working with you, you were helping me honor who I was and where I was and start taking care of myself. And I didn't realize that I wasn't. I realized very quickly, though, going to the bed and my sleep routine was probably the biggest change for me, because I now wake up like clockwork and at the same time every day with energy, and I'm ready to grab the day and really ready to tackle my goals that day.
Yeah. I mean, and so it did start out with just going to bed at the same time and then building the sleep routine, having this, you already had some of the pieces in place. You just didn't put that puzzle together. And we kept accountable. Did you do it? Are you doing it? And you're like, and what was important to you and what wasn't. Like, so we talked about, your sports games, like, but I like to watch them and we talked about what that could look like, and maybe you could listen and not have the blue light, or have blue light blockers, or do something that was going to make sure that you weren't disrupting your circadian rhythm and that you were honoring your circadian rhythm, so that you could get really good sleep all night long, which we knew was super important for maintaining your blood sugar, which is important to you because you started in the program, you said your A1C was in a dangerously high level.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was at 9.1 right before I started working with you. And you never want to be under 50 and hear your doctor say you are going to die if you don't change something. And that's literally where I was when I got to that point. And, we mentioned where I was before. I thought I was doing all the things. I thought I was taking care of all the things. I drank protein shakes. I went to the gym. I, I drank all the water, whatever. Which actually I didn't drink all the water, I realized. Um,
Mm.
but at that point, when my doctor told me, she says, you've got to do something. And she wanted to put me on pills. And that was the one thing that I knew I didn't want to do. And so then when you came along, it was divine intervention, really, just to come into my view at that time. They say when the student is ready, the teacher will show. And you did. And you did.
Awesome. And
Because
so,
my A1C now is right above 6 right this moment, which is actually entering pre-diabetic stage. So yeah.
that's awesome. And I
Yeah.
remember at one point, you were working on some activities and some things we talked about to help your morning blood sugar, your fasting blood glucose go down, because it was in a very, very high range. And that went down. 100 in the morning is under 100 is good, and 100 over 100 is pre-diabetic, and then you get into the range of diabetic, which you were in. And
Yeah.
that was going down as well. So of course, if you are always keeping that down, your A1C will go down. So all of that started to come into play, which is so showing that your body is becoming more insulin sensitive, that you're moving in the right direction. Um, and so
Yeah.
while we started with sleep, then you started to look at, you know, not the macros, not how much fat and protein and carbohydrates and everything you were eating so much as just changing the kinds of foods you were eating, right? And eating more whole foods versus tell me, you're laughing. Tell me about what you're thinking.
I'm laughing because when every program, every diet, everything that I did before, I have a pre-Stephanie life and I have a post-Stephanie life. And pre-Stephanie was okay, you've got to have this much protein at this meal and this much fat at this meal and this much this at this meal, and you got to eat them at this time and stuff like that. And literally Stephanie says, hey, why don't we just clean up breakfast? I went, well, that's not enough. What are you, crazy? I'm never going to get there. And then I cleaned up breakfast. It was something that I literally, my brain just went, you can do this. Just clean up breakfast. That's all you got to do. So the first meal of the day, we cleaned it up. It was actually almost like a Jedi mind trick, because like you got me to change my morning meal. And when I changed my morning meal, it changed the rest of my day. I wanted to eat healthier later on today. I wanted to eat healthier for dinner. I felt better during the day. So I didn't crave garbage all day long like I would always do at the office, and then after we did that, there's another rung. So now I'm going to bed at the same time. I'm, doing these things at night and then doing these things in the morning to try to help myself, give myself that solid foundation. And then she says, let's just clean up breakfast. Okay, cool. Let's clean up breakfast. We clean up breakfast. Then we come back. She's like, did you clean up breakfast? I'm like, I did. I cleaned up breakfast. And we're like, okay, well, let's clean up lunch. Okay, let's clean up lunch. And it literally almost felt like a no-brainer by the end of the time with you, was like these little calculated steps has gotten me to the point where I take these steps and I know I can do them and they're
And
working.
and they're
And
still there. Like
and there's, yes,
we're not still together, but you're still implementing things we talked about. So, at the end of the program, we said, okay, here's what you still are going to be working on. Here's some things that you can still do. And some of the stuff that we mentioned early on, like during your bedtime routine, you wanted to read, you want to start reading a books, but when I asked you about what books you were reading, you're like, oh, this self-help book and that book and this, and I'm like, may consider at some point reading something for fun that doesn't engage your brain, that doesn't make you constantly want to be like improving, just fluff, just fun, just something absolutely just fun.
yeah.
And it took some time, but eventually now you're on your second fun book, and big difference.
And it's big. We're talking like 700 pages of fun. It's crazy. I never do. I was always the personal development junkie, always reading a book on the next best thing. How am I going to improve myself, and things like that. And I realized that for a really long time, nothing, I'm in the self-development world. So that's like almost like work to me, is
Hmm.
that because I am in the coaching realm, that I didn't realize. I thought I was doing myself a favor by reading all these, self-development books at night, but really I was engaging my brain and I wasn't giving it a moment to just be happy and just, you know. So so once you said that, and then I had a friend mention it, they're like, "Do you ever read for fun? What is?" And finally it clicked. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. She's right. She's right. I got to." And now I can't stop. Like I look forward to coming home and cracking open my book. It is so
Which
good.
I love that because it kept you all through tax season, leaving the office by 8 o'clock. That was never something you did before. I remember when we first started talking, you're like, tax season's awful. It's my whole entire life, and it was so stressful. And I was like, boundary, because your bedtime is so sacred. It
Yeah.
has to start at a certain time so you can get you can do all the things. And now you have that one more, like, motivation. You're like, if I don't leave the office on time, I'm not going to know what happens to so and so in the book in the next chapter,
Right.
And so you get a little motivation to maintain your boundary.
100.
And a lot of people will come into the program, and or they're going to think about this. They're going to be thinking about working with, like, yeah, but I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight, and I want. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with that? Because you thought
Yeah.
that, how is any of this going to help me lose weight? I get that I'm doing it. I actually feel better. I'm getting up in the morning. You said all that. I'm feeling better. What? So you were telling me a little bit ago, you know, about the weight loss aspect of this. And we've always talked about, and in the master class, I talk about, weight is a symptom of a body out of balance. So if you have excess weight, then your body is out of balance in a certain way. And it's really
Yeah.
about getting it back in balance, and then the weight will normalize. It takes care of it itself. And not everybody believes me at first until they start working on other things that seem completely unrelated. But when you understand biochemistry, they are absolutely related. And so where are you now? And how does it feel qualitatively? What might it, for in the quantitative and the qualitative difference, and then you're continuing moving forward.
Okay. Yes. Because I came from the dieting, that I figured, yes, I have to lose, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to change all this stuff and I'm going to lose all this weight and da da da. And so when I started, I wasn't losing a significant amount of weight. But the thing is that I was feeling better. So it almost didn't bother me in the beginning that I wasn't losing weight because of the fact that I was feeling better. But what happened is, as I'm cleaning up my sleep, as I'm getting better at my A1C, I literally started taking inventory and started realizing that, oh my gosh, I just bent over and tied my shoe without grunting, or the fact that I could even reach my shoes was a big deal. I could balance on one leg while fixing my sock without falling over. I could actually kind of sort of run up a flight of stairs and not have to stop halfway between. So there were all these little things that were starting to happen. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? Well, what I found out, and actually I didn't even until this call, because I stopped looking at the number on the scale as a measurement of my success. It just wasn't. It's all it is. And she's going to say this, if you're going to hear it in your sleep. It's just data. That's all it is. That number on the scale is just data. It's just telling you what way we're going and what way is working and what way isn't. That's it. And the minute that I stepped on the scale, we looked back before this phone call, and I started with Stephanie at 255.2 pounds. It was the heaviest I had ever been and probably the most miserable. And I sit before you today at 235.2 pounds. That's 20 pounds less. Now, some people might say, okay, 20 pounds, when you have 100 to lose, what's that? It's everything, because now I wake up every morning and I feel good about what I'm doing. I feel good about me. I feel good. I want to make healthy choices for myself. I want to continue growing and becoming a more healthy and better person. And it's all because of the steps that Stephanie started me on in the beginning of this program. Just because I thought she was slightly crazy for talking about my, sleep patterns and telling me to drink apple cider vinegar and cheese and all this kind of crazy stuff. I didn't realize until almost halfway through the program, actually. I didn't really realize that I was like, all right, I'm just going to trust the process. I'm going to trust this process. And I know she knows what she's doing. She's brilliant. And so I kept following and following the steps, the boss framework. It works. And I kept making that little run step every day and every day. And even though I'm not in the program right now, I still follow that program every 2 weeks. What am I doing? Check in. Is this working? If it is, let's amp it up. Let's get another one. So the what I have lost 20 pounds and I have gained a reason to get out of bed and choose better and do better because of the framework that Stephanie has taught me. And this is something that I'm going to be able to take for the rest of my life and implement in so many other areas of my life as well. So just because you don't see what you think should be happening at that time, Stephanie understands what should be happening before you get to what you really think actually should be happening. It's otherworldly. She's very magical. She's very magical. Let's just say that. Trust
it's the
the
purple and
process.
the teal. It's the colors.
It is.
But
It is.
so I want to say, and I'm very proud of you because now you're walking in the mornings. You're
Yes.
going to the gym and you're walking in the mornings, and that's a really, really fantastic thing. And you're just continuing to make small changes at the time where you're ready to make those particular changes. But that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is that the last week of tax preparation season, you're like, I'm not going to do the walking right now because I need to dial down. I got to keep balance. I can't let the stress overwhelm, and I have to take care of myself. And you recognize that it's not always
Yeah.
got to be killing yourself to check off a thing on paper. And because
Right.
you had the right mentality about it, starting to do walking again isn't like all of a sudden you lost the thing. It's just that you were like, okay, instead of that, I'm going to drive and listen to my favorite music in my car after
Yep.
work to help myself get out of this, so I'm not dreaming about tax forms. You might have still
Right.
jumped about tax forms, but
No.
no, see, but you're letting it all go. And now you're like, okay, now I'm just going to go back to the other thing. And so
Mhm.
I just, it's having that self-compassion, having that awareness of what's going on. And you said only 20 pounds. And I want to challenge you. I don't know if you ever took actual measurements around your body as far as inches are concerned, but I bet you've lost more inches than weight because you are moving more. You've changed the kinds of food you're eating. So you're protein sparing more. So what a lot of people don't
Yeah.
understand is that you're losing fat, but you're maintaining protein and even gaining muscle. And like, so there's this slight body composition shift. So you just can't, that's why you can't go by the scale. So the fact that you can,
This
it's different. Yeah.
this is extremely different. Like I would, if you look at pictures before, I was always like this because I always wanted to straighten out this and everything. And I don't have to do that anymore. This is literally going away. And none of my jeans fit.
See, that's the best
Yeah.
part. It's like, who needs a
I
scale when
know.
you've got jeans?
Yeah, exactly. I'm always like, I
Meaning they're
bought a
all too
blouse.
big, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. And in fact, actually, I just thought of this too, is I just went to a concert at the local theater a couple weeks ago. And I always have to buy 2X shirts. And it's really hard at concerts. They sell out of 2X shirts. And they happened to sell out of the 2X shirt before I got there. And I was like, man, I really want this shirt. And he's like, it's an extra large, but it's stretchy, whatever. I'm like, all right, well, I really want the shirt. So I know I'm losing weight. I'll just wear it. I got it home and I actually can wear
See?
it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So again, it's the scale is
yeah,
is only
yeah,
going to tell you a part of it because your weight is more than fat on your body. There's so much more to
exactly.
it, right?
Exactly.
So you can be losing all kinds of fat in inches and getting better bones that are denser and heavier, right? So if you're doing the right thing nutritionally for your body, your bones should get denser and heavier, your muscle should be growing. So this is all awesome. And thank you so much for sharing your story. And I know we've got to go because people are probably like, oh my gosh, how long this chit chat is going to go on for? But I really do hope that you all have that this story has touched you and maybe spoken to you where you're at, because what I want most for everybody to understand is that the thing that holds you back more than anything else, and the thing that will continue to hold back, even if you come to my program, if you come to my program and you're still thinking, well, I gotta restrict my calories and I gotta move more and I'm gonna, intermittent fasting is great, but I'm gonna do all of this stuff and I'm gonna keep going and I'm not gonna figure out my stress or my sleep and I'm not gonna put this first, and you keep putting yourself last, you're not gonna get the change, right? You have to let the process happen. You have to trust the process. And I love what Jen, you said, it's like you were like, okay, but this is my last hope, so I'm gonna trust the process, but it works.
It was the process. It's the exact process I needed. And
Yeah.
it
And I'm so
literally
glad that it's sticking
everything.
sticking with you, which is the whole point, right? I don't want anybody to leave the program and not have this firmly in their grasp so that they can always have it moving forward. Because there's no reason to stop, start, stop, stop. When we start and stop and start and stop, that's where you get the whole yo-yo and everything else happens, and you never create this new foundation from which to to move forward in your life. And so we don't ever have to stop. We can turn up and turn down the volume at times when things get a little crazy, but life is always going to be life. We were talking earlier, there's always a tax season, there's always college payments, there's always, work deadlines, there's always a new thing, there's always a circumstance, there's always a challenge. It's how we decide to take care of ourselves so that we can overcome that challenge rather than turtle and pull back and then go back to habits that don't serve us. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be a reason. So never stop moving forward. You can always dial it down a little bit, but you get to do what you said earlier. You get to always choose better and you get to want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
100%. Stephanie, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Jen, and I will see you around.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.